Hey, Peter.
Hello.
I heard you were here in your apartment. Our friend Miss Hatton recommended you for 21 questions, so do you have some time?
Sure, I'm just cleaning the needle on my jukebox, my
Okay.
1961 Rockola Regis.
Amazing. So, tell us, what do you do?
I am a radio host and personality, a television host, DJ, dog owner,
Okay.
a, fiance, uncle, many things.
Wow, I love that. So, what got you started in radio and TV?
I was always interested in radio. I always found it to be like an interesting format. Like even before I understood what that was, I love that it got your imagination going. I love that when you listen to people doing something on the radio, you can really get taken to a different place in your head. It always just fascinated me.
And so, how did you become so knowledgeable in both music and sports?
Well, some people would argue I'm yet to become knowledgeable in either. First, sports. Sports was just like, when I was a little kid, I was an encyclopedia. I was just really, really obsessive about every player in every sport. Basically, I spent like childhood up until 13, 14 obsessed with sports. And then from 14 on, became really obsessed with music. And then sometime in my 30s, landed doing both.
That's awesome. And so you've hosted so many different TV shows, radio shows, podcasts. What keeps you motivated in this business?
Money. I'm all about the money. No, I guess two things. One, I really enjoy broadcasting. I really get a thrill, particularly out of live broadcasting. And I always have different things that I'm passionate about. It seems like every month I'm having a conversation with my fiance, Miss Hatton, where I'm like, you know what my dream would be? And I'm like, how many dreams can I have? I'm in my 40s already. But I do. I have so many different things that fascinate me. There's still sports broadcasting elements I haven't gotten to do yet that I'd love to do. I still would love to host, a late night talk show on network TV. I still have like a lot of things that I shoot for.
And so you've been a big part of the talk show evolution from talk radio, talk TV, now podcasts. How has it been transitioning into such different platforms?
As you do more, your skill set gets bigger and bigger. And people with a really high level broadcast skill set are a commodity because there are places that are going to be like, hey, we need to put someone on. We need someone who has done this before. So you end up getting more opportunities. But the beautiful part about it is you're more and more prepared each time. So the transition's actually pretty seamless. Like by the time I got to ESPN, I'd gotten so comfortable as a morning show hip hop host who'd mentioned sports that taking that next step was not that challenging.
And so I'm sure you get this question a lot. How was hosting a podcast with Mike Tyson?
That was really a dream come true for me. I have some disappointments around it because Mike really found his way with his new podcast, Hot Boxing, and I'm very happy for him. The version that we did had some really faulty business decisions at the beginning that I knew were happening, but I was so excited to just be there with Mike that I'm like, I'm just going on the ride. And I don't know if it's gonna work out, but I'm gonna go on the ride. And me and him developed an incredible rapport with each other in real life, So that was probably one of the coolest things. It's one of my bigger professional disappointments that it didn't go better, but it's one of my personal highlights. It was really cool. I always believed that Mike got a bad rap and had a really good heart, and that's been my experience with him.
I love that. That's amazing. So you're a WWE 24/7 champion.
That's right, former, but I agree, forever, yes.
Yeah, forever. And can you tell us the story behind that?
Sure. The 24/7 championship has recently been retired, but it was a title that existed for a few years in WWE, and the idea was that it could be defended or won anytime, anywhere. Sort of similar to what they did many years ago with the Hardcore Championship. Sorry, not to overly nerd on you, but it had existed in another form before.
I can tell you're passionate.
So It existed, and it would go from like wrestlers to then like a funny moment would happen and a celebrity would win it. Rob Gronkowski won it, you know, Bad Bunny won it, all these different people. And I remember thinking, saying to my agent, my good friend, I was like, why can't I win it?
Yeah.
There's a world in which I could win the 24/7 championship. And so they said, hey, yeah, we're gonna do it at the Royal Rumble kickoff show. And I was like, oh my God, cool. You know, as we're preparing for the kickoff show, the guy in creative comes up to me. He's like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna have time to do it in the kickoff show. I think we're gonna do it in the real show. So they decided they were gonna do a cutback to us in the middle of the show, which they don't really do, but they did it so we could do this thing. That I'm like, oh my God, like this is live.
And so I guess this brings me to my next question, a serious question. What is one of your biggest career accomplishments? I mean, aside from recording Thanksgiving bangers and, you know, winning 24/7 championship.
True. You're right. I'm very proud of my album that I put out. I'm super proud of the work I've done with podcasting. You know, my co-host Cypher Sounds and I started the first hip hop podcast. And, you know, there are a lot of things that are said to be the first or this or that, and it's rare that you actually like people who know actually know. But in the case of One Ep, like people actually know that we did. I mean, we sat down at Hot 97 in 2007 when my co-host did not know what a podcast was and said, let's just try recording each other talking.
And so, do you sleep?
I do sleep. I take sleep very seriously, between 6 and 7 hours.
Okay, wow,
you know?
that's surprising.
So, yeah, so like I find a way to make sure I'm in the bed by like 11 o'clock. Everyone's so big on that, I don't sleep. Team no sleep. I'm team sleep. You can be on team no sleep all day long.
And so you recently got engaged to our friend Miss Hatton. Congrats.
Thank you.
How has it been being introduced to the world of photography?
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a very different art form. It's totally different than what I do on a daily basis, which is just run my mouth, hope it was good, never think about that show again, essentially. I mean, so it's been interesting to learn how her artist mind works versus mine.
That's cool. And so do you have any projects coming up? Are you gonna start yet another podcast?
I do have another podcast I want to do, actually. Right now, my schedule feels like so full that to do anything else would just be silly. I'm also working on the follow-up to my album, Real Late 2.
And so switching it up a little bit, a lot of our viewers who might be watching this might be getting started into podcasts. I'm really excited to see you. What's 1 or 2 tips on getting started into podcasts?
The number one thing is probably consistency. Have an angle that's unique. Be consistent, you know? And it's easy enough now to do the basics and have it look and sound good.
Yeah.
Do that.
Perfect. So hopefully your bosses aren't watching, but if you could do only one forever, music radio, sports radio, podcasting, or DJing?
My ego would not want to say podcasting because I feel it's more unique to be in radio. So anyone can say they have a podcast. So ego-wise, it makes me want to say one of the radio jobs. But at the same time, podcasting allows you to do anything. If I got to podcast as my full-time job from a studio at home about whatever subjects I wanted, without anyone to be beholden to except the listeners, I think that's probably the way to go. But I love music and sports as well, and they would both be a part of it. So yeah, podcasting would be the best one because it could include music, sports, and DJing.
Favorite song of 2022?
Did it have to come out in 2022? I loved N95 off the Kendrick album, which was this year. Beyonce, Break My Soul, which I did love, so that makes sense. Die Hard by Kendrick. Energy by Beyonce. Keep It Thorough Prodigy, always.
Favorite interview you've ever done?
I'm very proud of the Jay-Z interview. I wanted it for so long, and we did it in a way that nobody else has, I believe, ever really interviewed him. Like, the way that we told his story, I thought was really pretty special. You know, I have a lot of ones that mean a lot to me.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to my next question is there an interview you were ever starstruck or nervous?
I always get nervous energy before interviews. Probably the first time we had Mike Tyson on the show. But then I ended up having him so many times I don't even remember when that was anymore. That's the crazy thing about having a long career, is that you end up losing sight of meaningful things because they're rendered less meaningful by how many cool things you get to do.
Is there someone on your bucket list you still haven't interviewed?
I mean, my childhood crush, Halle Berry would be a nice one. And Salma Hayek. Those were my two childhood and teenage year crushes. I'd like to do Jay-Z again. Lil Wayne, Janet Jackson would be pretty special as well.
Favorite podcasting gear?
I have recently, over the last few months, really started to rock with Rode. The Rodecaster Pro 2 is fantastic as a board. The first one was good, the second one's way better. It's awesome, such a full sound. And now I'm using their mic and headphones, so I'm pretty on board with Rode. And then everything visually that I do, which I think we've found a nice space in, is with Canon. If you're out there and you're trying to get visuals for a podcast, the RP is a really nice camera to use for either streaming, recording, whatever you're doing. It's been super useful for us.
Awesome. Best advice you've ever received?
A lot of the good advice that I've gotten has come from my podcast co-host, Cypher Sounds. Because when I was like adjusting to becoming a DJ in New York, he had been here for a long time. To learn how to move around and navigate while protecting your space and your integrity, which is not easy to do. Be mindful of the relationships and friendships that I forged with regard to music.
And so, hard question. If there were to be a movie about your life, who would play you?
That's not a hard question. That's an easy question. Clooney. There's only one man for the job.
I mean, the resemblance really is it's perfect.
Listen, I've always said one day I was going to look like George Clooney. And I'm not there yet, but I think we're both moving towards each other a little bit.
Last question. Who should we interview next?
Well, I just talked about him so much. You should go talk to Cypher Sounds.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you have the connect. I'll call him up.
That's it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I'll let you get back to it, and you can go back to fixing your
Thank you,
jukebox over there.
that needle's not going to clean itself.
All right. See you later.
Thanks.